Have you ever stopped to think about what truly defines success in Hollywood? We're not just talking about talent, luck, or dedication, but something deeper, hidden, lurking in the shadows of this billion-dollar industry. From major awards to the behind-the-scenes of legendary films, there are disturbing rumors about secret practices that shape the brightest careers. Welcome to another night where mysteries never sleep. I'm Midnight, and this is 7 Nights. But what are these supposed occult rituals? And above all, why do so many believe they're indispensable for achieving fame? Chapter 1: Behind the Scenes of Fame. Hollywood is a place of dreams and glamour, but for those who have walked its backstage corridors, this industry can reveal a much darker side. The halls of big studios, the mansions hosting exclusive parties, and even the offices of the most powerful executives are often described as scenes from a reality that defies any fictional script. Those places should be any aspiring person's dream, right? But from what they say, they're scarier than many horror series. It's here that rumors arise about secret societies and initiation rituals, considered by some to be the true currency of exchange for those who want to conquer glory. Ever since the 1940s, there have been stories of hidden circles within the industry. At that time, influential figures were associated with mysterious groups like the Bohemian Grove Club, which held gatherings filled with enigmatic symbolism. And today, these practices are said to have evolved into even more secretive events, where the main goal is to test how far a rising star is willing to go to join Hollywood's immortal club. Accounts of these ceremonies vary. Some describe parties full of excess, where the real objective isn't just entertainment, but the observation and selection of individuals deemed worthy. Others speak of symbolic ceremonies held under the guise of artistic celebrations, but which, to the attentive eye, show patterns eerily similar to those of secret society rituals. But is all this just a grand coincidence? What's most intriguing is that certain names in Hollywood seem to appear out of nowhere, reaching the top almost overnight. In many cases, these people had little to no relevant experience in the industry. On the other hand, there are stories of unquestionably talented individuals who simply vanish from the media, as if they'd been deliberately erased. What explains such a glaring contrast? Another intriguing point is the recurring narrative of rebirths in Hollywood. Many artists mention having gone through deep crises, from which they resurfaced stronger and ready for success. Actors and singers talk about facing challenges that forced them to rebuild themselves, almost as if they'd been reborn after some kind of trial. Are these stories just metaphors for overcoming obstacles, or is there something more hidden? Some say these rituals involve oaths of silence and symbolic acts to prove loyalty. Certain occult traditions suggest that one's commitment to a group or ideal is marked by sacrifices, whether it be abandoning old beliefs, cutting family ties, or even something more literal. Isn't it curious that so many stars speak of broken relationships and fresh starts just before reaching absolute stardom? On the other hand, those who try to leave this circle face a disturbing reality. Actors like Corey Feldman have revealed that there's a kind of wall of silence in Hollywood, where any attempt to expose the industry's secrets results in boycotts, persecution, and in some cases, total career destruction. Isn't it plausible that this system is part of something larger and very well orchestrated? There are also cases of celebrities who, in their speeches or interviews, slip out puzzling phrases. One example is Lady Gaga, who once stated, "I had to sell my soul to make this work." While many take such declarations metaphorically, do they really mean what they seem to? The supposed evidence isn't limited to testimonies. In films and music videos, it's common to find hidden symbols such as triangles, eyes, and references to ancient esoteric traditions. Are these images merely aesthetic choices, or intentionally placed clues? The famous all-seeing eye, for example, frequently appears in concert settings and music videos by artists at the top of the industry. It could just be marketing, but for many, it's something much deeper. Another aspect is the relationship between personal tragedies and professional ascent. How many times have we heard stories of artists who, after losing someone important or facing a great crisis, quickly rose to stardom? These coincidences fuel the idea that fame may come with a very high price that not everyone is willing to pay. Is fame really as simple as being in the right place at the right time? Or does Hollywood have its own rules and conditions for granting eternity in the collective imagination? If this system truly exists, who are the keepers of this secret, and why have they never been unmasked? Chapter 2: The Keepers of Occult Power. Hollywood, with all its sparkle and glamour, hides more than cameras can capture. Behind the lights of award shows and the deafening applause, there are those who believe in the existence of a select, almost untouchable group that controls the direction of the entertainment industry, the so-called keepers of occult power. These individuals, far from being just magnates or producers, are supposedly the real architects of the most legendary careers and the darkest mysteries of the industry. Accounts of these keepers suggest that they not only manage million-dollar contracts, but also hold a much broader influence, connecting Hollywood to political and economic power circles. It's no coincidence that major Hollywood figures often find themselves involved in global-scale matters, such as charity campaigns, political debates, and even social movements. But how far does this influence go? Is it merely a reflection of their success, or part of a carefully crafted agenda? The power structure in Hollywood dates back to the early decades of the 20th century, when large studios began monopolizing cinema. During this period, figures like Louis B. Mayer and Harry Cohn, founders of major studios, were seen as titans, ruling the industry with iron fists. But were even they just pieces on a bigger chessboard? Historical documents suggest intriguing connections between these personalities and secret societies of the time, such as the Freemasons and the Illuminati. It's funny how these links always pop up, huh? It seems like in Hollywood, the past never really stays buried. Today, the names of these keepers rarely appear in headlines. Instead, they operate behind the curtains, controlling narratives and funding projects that shape global culture. These individuals often have diversified interests in technology, politics, and media. Companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, and Netflix would be mere tools to consolidate their influence. After all, who really decides what gets produced and how it impacts millions of people? One example can be seen in scandals that shook Hollywood, such as the Harvey Weinstein case. While he was exposed as a predator, many believe his downfall was just the tip of the iceberg, a public sacrifice to distract attention from something much bigger. Who was really behind Weinstein's exposure? Could it have been a strategic move by the keepers to protect deeper secrets? Another fascinating clue is the invisible financiers of many films. Time and again, major productions have received financial backing from unclear sources, including shell companies and anonymous individuals. Why would someone finance a film without receiving public credit? This could indicate that certain projects are used as vehicles for hidden messages or specific agendas. We can't forget the close relationship between Hollywood and political power. Celebrities often appear alongside presidents, ambassadors, and global leaders. Events like the Met Gala or the Golden Globes are more than celebrations. They're gatherings where important decisions may be made away from the public eye. Isn't it curious that Hollywood, a center of entertainment, seems to have such proximity to corridors of power? The connections to global institutions are also alarming. The Bilderberg Group, famous for bringing together the world's most influential minds in secret meetings, has reportedly included participants linked to the film industry. These gatherings would align objectives among the political, economic, and cultural spheres. If this is true, the films and series we consume might be shaping our view of the world in ways we can't even imagine. There's also the role of so-called scouts, mysterious figures who supposedly identify promising talents and introduce them into the system. These people aren't just agents or managers. They're said to be responsible for selecting those who have the ideal profile to be part of something greater. Once chosen, these artists are molded and guided to fulfill a specific role, like pieces on a chessboard. But the most intriguing reports come from those who tried to expose these keepers. Artists who, upon raising suspicions or questioning the system, were quickly silenced. Some faced boycotts, others met inexplicable tragedies. Could this be a mechanism to protect the identity of those who truly run the industry? Why can't anyone prove the existence of these keepers? Perhaps because they operate on a level where their actions leave no trace. In a world dominated by contracts, confidentiality agreements, and a culture of fear, silence may well be this system's greatest asset. If the keepers of occult power truly exist, their actions go far beyond entertainment. They shape how we think, what we consume, and even how we perceive reality. But to what extent is this influence accepted or challenged by those within the industry? What would be the price of belonging to this exclusive circle? That's a question that may never have a definitive answer. Chapter 3: The Connections to Ancient Traditions and Secret Cultures. Hollywood, with its modern and technological appeal, seems far removed from ancient civilizations and their rituals. But as we dive deeper into the mysteries surrounding the industry, the similarities between pop culture and millennia-old secret traditions become impossible to ignore. Why do so many symbols used in films and events reflect practices and beliefs from ancient societies? Are they just artistic tributes or signs of something deeper? Perhaps a spiritual continuity that has survived through the centuries? The first parallels emerge with the civilizations of ancient Egypt. The Eye of Horus, also known as the all-seeing eye, appears in countless Hollywood productions. If the eye really sees everything, the question is, who's behind it watching us? In music videos, album covers, and even in the architecture of major events, this symbol is used so repeatedly that it seems to transcend mere aesthetic design. In Egypt, the eye represented divine power and protection, but in modern culture, it appears to symbolize surveillance and domination. Are we witnessing a reinvention of an ancient symbol of control? Egyptian temples also serve as inspiration. Many film sets or award show stages recreate the aesthetics of these sacred constructions, where initiation rituals and offerings were performed. This symbolic reverence can be seen in movies like Indiana Jones, The Mummy, and even in shows by major pop artists, where the stage transforms into a kind of altar. What do these parallels really mean? In ancient Greece, ceremonies honoring the gods of Olympus involved theater, music, and dances celebrating mythological narratives. Interestingly, Hollywood follows a similar structure, presenting stories that echo themes like sacrifice, heroism, and spiritual transformation. A classic example of this is the hero's journey, a narrative formula used in many blockbusters, such as Star Wars and The Matrix. But is it just an homage to mythology, or does it reflect practices that still have a place in the modern world? The concept of initiation is another fascinating link between past and present. In various ancient cultures, initiatory rituals transformed ordinary individuals into leaders, priests, or warriors. These rites often involved physical and psychological ordeals, marked by sacrifices and renunciations. Many believe that in Hollywood, the symbolic rituals of being accepted by the industry's elites follow a similar logic. Could the rumors of mysterious parties and acts of submission be a contemporary version of these practices? In Babylon, secret ceremonies involved the use of masks to represent different personalities or entities. These masks had deep significance, symbolizing the ability to move between worlds or assume multiple identities. Interestingly, the concept of masks is central in Hollywood, both literally and metaphorically. Actors gain fame for transforming into other people. But what if this also reflects something greater, like renouncing one's own identity in favor of something imposed by the industry? The practices of the Middle Ages, especially those linked to secret orders like the Templars, also echo in Hollywood. The Crusades, which sought sacred relics and hidden knowledge, are often referenced in films and series. The Order of the Templars, with its secret hierarchy and codes of conduct, is frequently associated with modern societies, including those believed to control the entertainment industry. But the references don't stop there. In the Renaissance, artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo inserted hidden symbols in their works, influenced by esoteric societies such as Freemasonry. Many theorists point out that something similar happens today in Hollywood, where subliminal messages and visual codes are incorporated into films and music videos to perpetuate occult traditions. Who would be the modern craftsman charged with disseminating these symbols? Another fascinating connection is the presence of astrology and numerology at Hollywood events. In antiquity, these systems were used to predict the future and determine auspicious moments for ceremonies. Today, rumors suggest that major film releases and awards shows aren't scheduled by chance. The dates would be carefully chosen to align with astral cycles and numerological meanings. Is this just a modern superstition or an attempt to replicate the power of ancient practices? We can't ignore the stories of sacrifice and rebirth that permeate both ancient cultures and the narrative of many celebrities. In ancient civilizations, sacrifice was seen as an act that strengthened the bond with the divine. Curiously, many stars talk about sacrificing everything to achieve success, and some even face personal tragedies just before reaching the top. Are these parallels merely coincidences? Finally, the idea that Hollywood serves as a bridge between the past and the present is reinforced by the constant repetition of archetypes. Heroes, villains, saviors, and traitors. These roles haven't changed since the earliest records of human narratives. Is Hollywood just a modern version of stories told around campfires, or is something deeper being transmitted through its films? The connections between Hollywood and ancient traditions can't be ignored. The repetition of symbols, narratives, and rituals suggests that the entertainment industry, consciously or unconsciously, perpetuates practices that began thousands of years ago. But why? Are we simply recycling ideas, or do these symbols possess an intrinsic power that shapes our perception of the world? The mystery remains. To what extent is Hollywood a mirror of human traditions, and to what extent is it a channel for something much older and more powerful? Chapter 4: Occult Elements in Works. One of the most intriguing aspects of rumors about rituals in Hollywood is the supposed presence of occult elements in films, music videos, and award shows. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say that, for many, the works of major artists are not just entertainment, but a showcase of enigmatic symbols. Who would have thought that the scene you just found beautiful might have so much hidden meaning? This raises the question, are these details merely artistic choices, or do they possess a deeper, perhaps even coded significance? Think about the music videos of globally renowned artists. Triangles, all-seeing eyes, statues of mythological figures, and gestures repeated in an almost hypnotic way are common sights. A classic example is the constant appearance of the all-seeing eye in videos by artists like Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Madonna. Is it a coincidence that these symbols are often associated with secret societies like the Illuminati? Annual award shows also don't escape suspicion. The Oscars, for example, are seen by many as a dazzling spectacle, but some more observant viewers believe the symbolism behind the ceremony goes beyond the glamour. From the stage design to the speeches and musical performances, everything would be meticulously planned to convey hidden messages to those who know how to interpret them. But who are these messages intended for? We can't forget about big box office movies. It's intriguing to note that many of them, especially those in the fantasy and sci-fi genres, carry themes of initiation, pacts, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Classics like The Great Gatsby, Fight Club, and The Shining have been analyzed by experts in symbolism, who point out numerous references to occult traditions and secret societies. Are these just coincidences, or is Hollywood deliberately planting these ideas into the collective unconscious? Another intriguing question is the relationship between the audience and these symbols. Why would so many artists use such recurring imagery if there were no intention behind it? The answer may lie in the psychological impact certain visual patterns and archetypes have on the viewer. Many psychologists assert that symbols like triangles or eyes are deeply rooted in the human subconscious, evoking feelings of power, mystery, or submission. This suggests that Hollywood not only understands these effects, but uses them strategically. Music, as an essential part of pop culture, is also steeped in theories. The use of subliminal messages in music gained notoriety in the 1980s, but in modern times, the rumors have evolved. Lyrics that mention rebirth, pacts, or ascending to a new level of life are common. Artists like Kanye West and The Weeknd have released songs that many interpret as modern takes on ancient myths of ascension and sacrifice. Costumes and performances also enter this discussion. The extravagant outfits worn at events like the Met Gala or during Super Bowl performances are often analyzed as pieces of a symbolic puzzle. Outfits inspired by ancient deities, ritualistic elements, and even enactments of sacrifice are pointed to as clear representations of occult rituals. But is this interpretation overblown, or are the artists themselves trying to tell us something? Behind the scenes, it's said that some producers and directors require certain symbols to appear in their works. For theorists, this is a way to reaffirm their link with circles of power. Stanley Kubrick, for example, was often associated with secret societies due to the hidden messages in his films, such as Eyes Wide Shut. Kubrick himself died shortly after finishing that film, which many interpret as punishment for revealing too much. But it's not just films that carry this weight. TV shows and even advertising campaigns are frequently pointed out as vehicles of symbolic dissemination. An example is the Super Bowl ads, which year after year spark debates because of their symbolic content. From apocalyptic scenes to clear references to celebratory rituals, these commercials often leave viewers wondering, what exactly is being communicated? Another intriguing point is how stars seem to awaken to a new level in their careers after works laden with symbolism. Have you noticed how, after films or songs filled with enigmatic elements, many artists become global icons? It's almost as if they undergo a rite of passage that guarantees their immortality in the popular imagination. But what could be the ultimate purpose of all this? The most common theory is that Hollywood functions as a machine not just for entertainment, but for shaping ideas and global values. If that's true, the occult elements would be a form of control or a coded message for those who truly hold power. Looking at this evidence, it's hard to ignore the pattern. Is it all one big conspiracy, or is it simply the manifestation of collective creativity? Chapter 5: The Proof of Silence. Little is said about the price of staying on top in Hollywood, but there's a growing perception that for some, the real challenge isn't just getting there, but preserving what they've achieved. Rumors of a pact of silence binding the industry's biggest stars are as old as fame itself. This pact doesn't refer only to confidentiality about backstage affairs, but to something far more serious, an agreement that supposedly protects Hollywood's darkest secrets. The idea that those who break this silence face devastating consequences is nothing new. Many cite cases of stars who, after achieving absolute success, fell from grace suddenly and almost inexplicably. Is it a coincidence that many of these people, just before their downfall, made statements or acted in ways that might suggest dissatisfaction with the system? One frequently cited example is Corey Feldman, an actor who, in several interviews, revealed the existence of a dark side in the industry. He spoke about abuse, manipulation, and sinister practices that, according to him, are kept secret by a powerful elite. After his statements, Feldman claimed to have received death threats and observed a clear sabotage of his career. Isn't it strange that, despite many similar accounts, almost nothing is officially investigated? Additionally, there are stories of celebrities who, upon trying to expose what they experienced, met a tragic fate. The case of Britney Spears is also often recalled. While many see her public struggle for freedom as a personal drama, others suggest there are more layers to her story, involving psychological control and manipulation on a level beyond what's visible. Another question that baffles observers is how many public figures claim to be trapped by contracts or agreements that limit their actions. Lady Gaga, on several occasions, has made statements interpreted as references to a larger control system. In one interview, she mentioned that she had to sell her soul to make things work, which may sound like a metaphor, but still casts a shadow of doubt. There are also the strange patterns of behavior among certain stars who, after reaching the peak, suddenly withdraw from the industry. Actors and musicians who seem to be on top of the world often disappear without explanation. Some cite exhaustion or a desire for a quieter life. But what if there's another reason? Could the pressure to remain silent about what goes on behind the scenes become unbearable? Theorists also point to tragic events, such as the sudden and inexplicable deaths of family members or close friends of celebrities. Are these losses coincidences, or part of a symbolic price paid by those who decide to tread the path of fame? Cases like that of Jennifer Hudson, who lost members of her family in a tragic event shortly before her meteoric rise, continue to fuel these speculations. But why would anyone agree to enter this circle, knowing the risks involved? The answer may lie in what fame represents: power, recognition, and the promise of immortality in the collective imagination. For many, that temptation outweighs any cost. Yet it's hard to ignore the psychological and emotional toll that absolute fame seems to have on so many stars. Some people who have left the industry talk about feeling empty or lost. They describe a sense of having been exploited or of having sacrificed something essential within themselves in exchange for success. Are these merely symptoms of the toll of fame or signs of something deeper? Another curious point is the frequency with which celebrities become involved in scandals that appear manufactured. Could these scandals be a symbolic form of punishment for minor rule breaking or displaying dissatisfaction with the system? Often, the downfall of these figures occurs at strategic times, almost as though it were a warning to others. Finally, there's the mystery of those who, even after years of decline, manage to come back even stronger. Does this indicate a second chance within this system? Or is it proof that in Hollywood, control of who's on top is never completely lost, only postponed? What seems clear is that Hollywood has its own rules and punishments, many of which remain hidden under the veil of glamour and success. But to what extent is this system real? Or are we simply searching for meaning in a world that, by its nature, is already full of excess and contradictions? Hollywood seduces us with glamour, but it also challenges us with mysteries that trace back to ancient and powerful traditions. Behind the cameras, the symbols, and the stories that shape our culture, there are indications of a system that blends the hidden past with modern influence. Perhaps we'll never know what truly goes on in the shadows, but the connections between these practices and our history run too deep to ignore. This story is just one piece, and maybe one day you'll see the whole puzzle. If this made you think, subscribe and like the video. It helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share. After all, more voices mean more discoveries.